Jesus Christ. Hey guys, today I'm in a 2021 Lamborghini Huracan EVO. This is actually my first time driving an EVO. I've driven various Huracans, first-gen Huracans, Huracan Spiders. Never driven an EVO. I know there's a lot to talk about with this car. A lot has changed since the first generation Huracan, and this replaces the first generation Huracan as well as the Performante. This is just the only Huracan you can buy. This, along with the Spider, of course, 631 brake horsepower from a 5.2 liter naturally aspirated V10. This is it, guys. This is the last naturally aspirated motor of really any of the modern exotics. McLaren, of course, the turbocharged. Ferrari's gone turbocharged. Lambo's the last one. 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. And it is just so easy. Top speed is over 200 miles an hour. 7-speed, double clutch transmission. Shifts are mesmerizingly quick. Literally no time. I mean, everything is on the steering wheel, your turn signals, much like Ferrari. So we are in sport mode currently. Of course, you do have your Strada, Sport, Corsa mode, Street, Sport, and then Track mode, essentially. So smooth. Now we are in sport mode. If I put that into Corsa mode, you'll notice the difference. Put it in Corsa mode, the entire rev counter changes, much more aggressive looking now. And shifts, everything's a bit louder, a bit more tensed up. It's a much more intense shift, much more impactful. Oh yeah, just kicks you in the back. Revs to 8,500 RPM, and it is just one of the finest sounds. Oh, jeez, and then the brakes. Yeah, this is the best handling I've ever felt in a car. Steering is incredibly quick, like super quick. This might be some of the sharpest steering I've ever felt in a car, even faster than Ferrari steering. Now this car just looks like a facelift and a bit more power, but it is so much more beneath the skin. A lot has gone on internally with the car to make this probably the best driving Huracan ever. Of course, it's not quite as hardcore as the Performante, but and we still have 5,000 RPM to go. I mean, that is just insane. This is, there's no other way of putting it, a proper Lambo color. If any car is going to be painted bright green, it's a Lambo. Green seats, green interior stitching, green accents in the interior, green brake calipers. This does have carbon ceramic brakes. Honestly, these are not like the hardcore race seats, but they surprisingly relatively comfortable for what the car is. You also have a new duckbill spoiler in the back, which looks great, kind of gives the car a bit more curvature. And inside, of course, you still have many hexagons literally everywhere you look. That is the pattern of this car. Compared to the first gen Huracan, this has, of course, improved aero. This also has torque vectoring. They've worked their magic with this so much, in fact, that this has 7 times as much downforce as the first generation Huracan. One of the biggest things, it has rear wheel steer, which just transforms the car. It makes the car much more nimble at slow speeds and more stable at high speeds. Yeah, it's just so smooth. And then popcorn on the overrun. So what does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds feel like? Well, let's find out.
12 seconds later.
Jesus Christ. Feels like that. That is a Supra. Ooh. Who needs coffee? And that wasn't even a very good launch. Honestly, hopping out of the Gallardo into the Huracan is like hopping out of Luke Skywalker's land speeder and into the Slave One. It's just a completely different ball game. And I love the Gallardo. I adore those cars. But to see how far Lambo has come since then, it is just insane. Now they're producing cars that are breaking Nürburgring lap records. They used to not be like that. They used to just be known for building big V12 heavy, but very fast supercars. There's no way you can reach this car's limits on the road. Oh my. Visibility is not fantastic, of course. It's not as bad as the V12 cars. I mean, it is pretty bad. I can't lie. This is the easiest supercar to drive, 100%. It is Audi-based beneath, but this is also the best-looking Huracan. Maybe the rear-wheel drive version of the Evo is probably a bit better looking than the front grille, but you have new redesigned front fascia, redesigned rear fascia and diffuser. The exhausts have been moved up towards the center of the rear, and they just look fantastic, just like the Performante. It's very easy to drive. You could say some people might want a bit more of a challenge behind the wheel, but you're not going to get that from modern cars. It's unfortunate, but you just won't. You're going to have to drive an older Diablo or Murcielago to really get that feeling, which is why I love driving that LP640 a few weeks back. It was a refreshing feeling, but hopping back into this, you just leapt forward 1,000 years. And of course, the interior is very well thought out. And one of the biggest changes is you do have this very lovely, I think it's 8-inch touch display. Makes everything a bit easier to access and to you know, kind of fiddle with some of the settings. So I am a taller person. I'm about 6'4", and I fit in this pretty well. I mean, it's not as spacious as a McLaren, but it is. If this was the Spider, my head would be over the windshield. And I can see out just fine. I think if I was any taller, maybe I'd end up looking like the Hunchback of Notre Dame after quite some time. Yeah, this thing is just incredible. And of course it is all-wheel drive, so it's a bit more of a comfortable feeling behind the wheel. Not going to completely slip out from underneath you. You want to downshift just for fun. Like, you don't even need to. I don't think I'd ever really put it in Strada mode. I mean, yeah, I don't see why. It's just beggars belief how good this thing is in the corners. Man, I wish we had better roads here. I'm in Tampa, Florida, so this is pretty much the only decent road here. And the windy bit's only about 15 seconds. So it's really all I get. But man, this thing would be good. Lamborghini has just stepped it up drastically. I can't say it enough. What they've done with some of these cars is just insane. Styling-wise, Huracan was already a fantastic-looking car, and this, they've added even more hexagons and angles and crazy patterns. Looks even better. That rear diffuser looks fantastic. So I was just sitting in a traffic light, and of course you're going to be bombarded with photos and attention. If you buy a bright green Huracan, you're gonna have to expect some attention. That's just how it is. Paddles, of course, are on the column, not the steering wheel. That is preferred for at least, I think I say actually the majority of people. Center console, of course, that famous start button is just feel like a 10-year-old again every time I use it. Just having that V10 orchestra behind you is worth the price. So emotional. .631 horsepower. I mean, it is about, what, 70, 80 horsepower short of the Ferrari F8. But I can tell you which one I'd rather have. It's this. Right, so that concludes the Huracan EVO. Thank you guys for watching.